So plenty of action on the pitch to look forward to on Sunday, but it's also a fascinating tactical battle on the touchline as Pep Guardiola takes on Jurgen Klopp.
Klopp has a good record against Guardiola, so how will he approach this weekend's game? Let's hear from the Liverpool boss.
It's a very, very difficult game, hopefully for both teams, because both teams will perform on a high level, so that's it. We are that early in the season, and so many things are different this year. Nothing is to compare with last year. Nothing is to compare with the year before. So it's, how I said, everything is different, and we just have to make sure that we get through very intense periods, line up the fittest players, and play the best football we can. And in this case, it is against Man City, which is obviously one of the most difficult games to play in the world. And that's it, pretty much. I enjoy these kind of games. I enjoy the preparation for the games, but it doesn't make it easier. It's just a really tough task.
Oh, can't wait already for this one on Sunday, the match at the Etihad between Man City and Liverpool. Let's bring in Steve McManaman now, a man who's played for both clubs. Steve, great to have you with us on the weekend preview. What's your thoughts ahead of this game? Aside from the positions in the table, who's actually better placed to play this one and win it?
Well, I think it all depends on the lineups, really, Jules, to be honest, and who's fit, whether Aguero's fit, who's going to play centre defence for Liverpool, whether Matip's going to come in, or whether it's Nat Phillips, who played in the Premier League, and, of course, Reece Williams, who played in the Champions League. So I think it'll all depend a lot on the lineups on the day, how everybody's recovered from the excursions of European football in midweek. But both teams are playing really well. I think in the last couple of weeks, I saw Manchester City last week at Sheffield United, and they were very dominant, won quite comfortably. Of course, they've won away in Marseille. They beat Olympiacos nice and easy during the week. So two teams are in really good form, and it'll be good to see. It'll be good to see how they perform, so early on in the season. But I don't think it'd be a big issue for either two teams, because they're a very confident bunch.
Steve, you talked about the picks that either manager could make. If you're Jurgen Klopp, do you pick Diogo Jota? And are you surprised by how quickly he settled at Anfield?
I don't think Diogo Jota will play, mate, to be honest. I think Firmino will definitely play. But yes, I think I'm very surprised. I think when he came to Liverpool, everybody was surprised when he came in. The talk was Thiago. Of course, they did that deal and then quickly brought him afterwards. What's really surprised me is that every time he's played, or even when he's come on in a substitution role, he looks as if he's going to score all the time. Even when he comes on for 10, 15 minutes, he looks as if he was going to score. He puts himself in some wonderful positions, and his calmness in front of the goalkeeper in the penalty area has really surprised me. I know he's talented. I'd seen enough of him, but he's really surprised me how well he's hit the ground running. And that hat-trick midweek against Atalanta was exceptional. His finishing and his coolness in front of the goal, I think, has surprised everybody. But he's a wonderful player.
Mecca, do you think, obviously, Klopp will go with Firmino because of they're so used to playing as a collective, those three? Firmino dropping into like a number 10 position, allowing the runners to run in behind Salah and Mane.
Yeah, I think so. I think he trusts Roberto Firmino. We know that. He really likes what he brings the team, albeit, he's not scoring the goals that he probably would like himself. But I think he trusts him. He's a great player when he plays well. It's just nice to see now, because Liverpool have got a little bit more competition up top. There was talk about Werner, and Werner went to Chelsea eventually. And then there was talk about, is Origi going to be strong enough to challenge those front three? Well, I think for the first time in a while, we see somebody now in Diogo Jota who can play left if Mane's injured. He can certainly play through the middle like he showed if Firmino's not up to par. And I think that's the good thing about it. They've got real quality choices now in case one of those front three get injured. Yeah.
And what about for Manchester City up top, Steve? Because we've seen that in Gabriel Jesus's and Sergio Aguero's absence, the new signing Ferran Torres has sort of played as a number 9. But in the Champions League this week, Gabriel Jesus, fit enough to start on the bench. He came on, he went back into that number 9 position, and Ferran Torres moved out onto the left. How do you think Pep Guardiola is going to set up?
Well, I think it all depends on how Gabriel Jesus is and how he reacted after the game. If he's fit and he's well, I'd consider him the number 9 and the player to start. Ferran Torres, I thought, was excellent and has been excellent. A bit like Diogo Jota. he's only a young boy, and you don't expect him to hit the ground running. But his movement last week against Sheffield United, his movement was as a number 9, albeit he plays wide. But his movement was excellent. He's got an eye for goal, and he can play that in case Gabriel Jesus is not fit. But if he is fit, I'd expect him to start. And then Pep's got a choice, isn't he? Whether he wants to play Raheem on the left, whether he wants to play Torres on the left, Mahrez. As I said, I think that's the interesting part. When everybody's fit and well, these two teams and the two squads are exceptional. So it all depends for me. I'm looking forward to, an hour and 15 before the kickoff when I can see whose names are on the team sheet.
Macca, it's Tim. I think that what we can be sure of now, the 5 at the back for Man City, which we can't say over recent years, I think that's one of the best back 5s in the Premier League at the moment. I think Ruben Diaz has been huge for him, along with Laporte. You go Cancelo on the left and Kyle Walker having the season of his life with Ederson behind him. Is that not the best back 5 in the league?
Well, you'd say at this moment in time it would be, particularly now Liverpool are missing Van Dijk. But I'm with you. I think Kyle Walker's an exceptional player, and they've sort of stumbled in eventually to Cancelo play. Mendy not being fit, Zinchenko being in and out. Cancelo's come in and has been great. And I think they've got the centre-back pairing now that they really want. I know they brought Ake in and John Stones has played bit parts, but this is the centre-back pairing that he wants. Diaz on the right-hand side, Laporte on the left-hand side of that back 4. And the more they play, the better they will become. But they were very strong last week in a difficult encounter away at Bramall Lane with Rodrigo just sitting in front of them to give them that solidity. So I was impressed, and they've gone on and, as I said, good performance midweek against Olympiacos. Didn't exert too much pressure, and they roll into Sunday's fixture.
You talked about that difference, Macca, at the back for Manchester City and how they can be a little bit more rigorous now. I mean, the main difference between them and Liverpool last season is the fact that Liverpool could win games without playing particularly well, whereas Manchester City needed to play well and take their chances to win games. Do you think City are getting closer to closing that gap?
Yeah, I do. I think they look a little bit stronger than they did last year. I mean, it all depends, of course, it does on injuries. If they go and lose Laporte again, they're going to be significantly weaker because he's an exceptional centre defender. But yes, they're starting to look a little bit more strong, aren't they? And as I said, with Rodrigo in front of them, he was excellent last week, just cleaning everywhere up. They don't miss a Fernandinho as much now, who was influential in the past couple of years. They're starting to look really strong defensively. And, going forward, they've always been excellent. But, yeah, I think they're certainly going to close the gap on Liverpool this year. Whether they can catch them is another thing. And tomorrow, even though it's early on and we're only in November, the fact that Liverpool are sitting where they are, if they get a positive result tomorrow, people will start to be making assumptions of the league already.
Yeah, that was a question I was going to ask you, Mac. In previous seasons, this is like people say, whoever wins this one will go a long way to deciding the title. With the inconsistency of teams this season, I don't think this is the case in this game, is it?
No, I don't think so. Chelsea are playing well, aren't they? And there's a lot, the league is a lot more condensed than it would be, even though we're very early on. I still think Liverpool and Manchester City are the standout teams, and they will only get better and better. It's just we've had a hell of a lot of football, as everybody knows, in a short space of time, and it's affected everybody. But I think these two teams are the standout teams. These are the benchmarks, and everybody has to get up to their level to get anywhere near. We see Tottenham are slowly churning out results. Chelsea is starting to come into form with all their new signings playing well. But I think these two are still the main candidates to beat.
And the two managers, you'd say, probably still two of the best managers in the world. But off the back of Liverpool's last couple of seasons, Macca, do you think Jurgen Klopp has actually overtaken Pep Guardiola as the best manager in the world now? What do you think?
Well, look, I mean, it's easy for me to sit here and say yes, because they just won the league, and of course he won the Champions League the year before. I think it's a toss of a coin. What kind of style you like, what kind of character you like, what kind of charisma you want from your managers. I think both of them are absolute geniuses, and we're blessed to have them in the Premier League, and we're blessed to see them, play each other and come up against each other so often. But, I certainly think as an overall package, whether you're speaking to the man or whether he's getting interviewed, I think if you're a neutral, everybody has, a huge amount of respect and a huge amount of love for Jurgen Klopp and what he does. And, even just sitting through his press conferences, that, he's very enigmatic, isn't he? Very charismatic with people. And people seem to really like him. But the fact that he's the champion and he has won the Champions League, in a Liverpool shirt, you'd certainly say he was sitting top of the pile at the moment.
All right, Macca, before we let you go, I don't want to hear that you say it's going to be a draw at the Etihad. What's your prediction going to be?
I think it's going to be a draw, Jules.
I knew that was coming.
No, I think both teams will score. I cannot see Liverpool losing the game. I really can't.
OK, so a Liverpool win from Macca. Thank you so much for joining us, Macca. Robbie, we'll see your prediction for that game later, and we'll get Andy and Tim's later on in the show too. But